This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Clinching the number one overall seed in the National League will have to wait at least one more day as the Brewers fall tonight to the Cincinnati Reds at American Family Field. This one by a final score of 3-1. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers postcast. My name, as always, is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Snide. Lots to get to on the program this evening. A pitcher's duel against two potential playoff teams, the Cincinnati Reds, now in control of their own destiny. But a great pitching duel tonight by Quinn Priester and Zach Littell. We'll talk about that matchup, which also included the offense for the Milwaukee Brewers. The Reds got just enough, clearly, winning 3-1. But for the most part, the offense for both of these teams, non-existent. And as we mentioned, the magic number to clinch that number one overall seed remains at 1. The Phillies winning this evening. So the Brewers got to get at least a win or a Phillies loss in one of these next two games in order to secure home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So we'll dive into all of that. And, of course, your thoughts, your reactions. Normally, I would say your celebrations because we've won 96 games, but the Brewers lost their 64th today. They fall to 96-64 on the season. But your thoughts, your concerns, your questions, your comments are all welcomed on the program. Let's get into your scoring summary this evening, brought to you by Rugiet and FanDuel. 3-1 game, guys. Not a whole lot of scoring in this one for either one of these teams, but we begin with the Brewers, who got on the board early in this one. In the third inning, a Bryce Terrain single with 2 outs would score Christian Yelich from second base, and that would get the scoring started in this one. Then in the fourth inning, the Spencer Steer single for the Cincinnati Reds would score Lux from third. That would make the game tied at 1 apiece. And then nothing in the fifth inning for either one of these teams. And into the sixth inning, without further ado, and a 3-1 loss. This tonight is your turning point in the loss.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Quinn Priester was cruising in this one. Overall, a pretty good game from Quinn Priester. He took the loss tonight because of what happened in that sixth inning. A couple of guys getting on base eventually would score. Miguel Andujar single to center would score a run. Tyler Stevenson single, sacrifice fly to center field would score Andujar, and the Reds would put 2 runs in that top half of the sixth inning. And that would be all that they would need, and they would chase Quinn Priester out of this one. The Brewers' first loss that Quinn Priester has pitched a game in or appeared in since all the way back in May. 19 straight wins the Brewers have had when Quinn Priester had started or appeared in a ball game, and it's the first one. Not used to it. Not used to Quinn Priester pitching the ball game and the Brewers losing. His final line this evening, Quinn Priester got the start for the Brewers. As we mentioned, 5 innings pitched. He allowed the 9 hits and the 3 earned runs, 87 total thrown pitches for Quinn Priester. And some bad luck there in the sixth inning. A couple of balls bouncing the wrong way, one hitting a bag and just falling in the right spots for the Cincinnati Reds, who chased the Brewers in this one. A 3-1 loss for Milwaukee. A tough one, offensively speaking, for our Milwaukee Brewers. Just 3 hits tonight for the Brewers, and Zach Littell on the other side of the mound for the Cincinnati Reds. And nothing too flashy. I thought there were moments in this game for this Brewers team to jump on him in this game, but he finished the game with 4 2/3 innings pitched, 3 hits allowed, all 3 of the hits that the Brewers got in this one. So you got to give a lot of credit for him only going 4 2/3 inning. You got to give a lot of credit to the Cincinnati Reds bullpen, who had 4 relievers come in after Zach Littell in this one and completely dominate this Milwaukee Brewers offense. We mentioned Zach Littell giving up 3 hits. That's all the Brewers would have in this one. 3 total hits. After he would leave with an out in the 5th inning, the Brewers wouldn't be able to muster up a single hit after he would leave the ball game. Their last hit in this game coming in the 4th inning for the Brewers bat. So we'll get into the things you'll be talking about tomorrow. I'm sure some of you will have some thoughts and feelings on this Brewers offense, but it does feel like they're kind of stuck in the mud offensively speaking. And that is that was the case this evening for the Brewers. Quinn Priester taking the loss, his first since May. 13-3 now on the season is Quinn Priester. After tonight's action, the 5 innings pitch and the 3 earned runs, his ERA 3.32 for Quinn Priester. I guess if you want to be positive when it comes to what the Brewers are able to do tonight, you got to give also a lot of credit to the Brewers bullpen in this one as well. So Quinn Priester giving up the 3 earned runs, Nick Mears and Tobias Myers coming in and shutting the game down for the last 4 innings in this one, shutting down the Cincinnati Reds offense. So there's some positive things to look at, and there's going to be more positive things to look at. We'll talk about the player of the game and your thoughts, your reactions after this. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by Rugiet. What do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Well, that's a heck of an opening line there. That's confidence, pure confidence, baby. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Lawn. That's exactly where it comes in. It's just not another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Lawn combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can get hard and go the distance. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to Rugiet.com. That's RUGIET.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com. Promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our promo code and know that we sent you. That's Rugiet.com. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast also brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. New customers can bet just $5, and if that first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It is super easy, super quick, and the best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays watching football. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com. Place that first $5 bet, guys. If that first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. The Packers 6.5-point favorites in Dallas this Sunday. Maybe that's your first $5 bet. And again, if that first $5 bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. A 3-1 loss for our Brew Crew, the number 1 overall seed in the National League Central. That magic number remaining at 1 after the Philadelphia Phillies got the victory this evening. So the Brewers, a combined either a win or a Phillies loss in the next 2 games will help secure that number 1 overall seed. So they'll have to wait, hopefully, another day, and the Brewers can get the victory. Maybe tomorrow. Robert Gasser on the mound with Miz possibly coming out of the bullpen. We'll talk a little bit about that and some injury updates for our Milwaukee Brewers, some positive injury updates. And then, of course, we'll still get to your thoughts and your reactions. But without further ado, the Brewers lost 3-1. Let's talk about the player of the game tonight.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Jackson Chourio. I know the Brewers lost 3-1, and I know there's nothing really sexy about the Brewers box score this evening with 3 hits and not the start from Quinn Priester we were probably hoping for, giving up a couple of runs in 5 innings of work. And I know Jackson Chourio didn't have a hit tonight. He was 0 for 2, had 2 walks though, so that's good for Jackson Chourio taking those walks. But the 2020 season secured for Jackson Chourio, the youngest player now in Major League Baseball history with multiple 2020 seasons. Also keep in mind, this is the same player, guys, that missed a month plus with the hamstring injury at the end of July in that Cubs series, missed all of August and is starting to get back to the player that we had hoped he would be prior to that injury. And Jackson Chourio securing, getting a stolen base in this one to secure his second consecutive 2020 season, the youngest player in MLB history to do so. Mike Trout, the most recent, he was 22. So congratulations to Jackson Chourio. Continues to be impressive. I think people forget when you look at Jackson Chourio and the expectations that are put on Jackson Chourio to come into this season and kind of be that guy that anchors the offense. And certainly there's been moments where he has, but the pressure on this guy signs the big contract to continue to do what he's done even given the injury, the month that he's missed this year, to continue to put up the numbers that he's put up, second in home runs on the team as well. He just continues to be an impressive, and you always got to stop and pause yourself too, because he is still is a kid. He's 21 years old. Like, he's still growing into the player that we hope he's going to become, which is going to be here, hopefully, in Milwaukee for a long time. Now, Jackson Chourio gets the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. We do have an honorable mention, though, tonight, because I thought tonight Tobias Myers out of the bullpen looked amazing. Like, maybe the best and the sharpest we've seen from Tobias Myers. Just looked really good. At one point, he had 8 up, 8 down. The ninth guy had a walk, but he worked around that and got out of that. 2 strikeouts for Tobias Myers, 3 innings pitched for Tobias, and just looked really good, really sharp out of the bullpen, which is a huge development tonight, for that bullpen going forward. Bruce Zimmerman took it on the chin in San Diego, but when he was able to go 6 innings and kind of save some of the bullpen, that was Nick Mears and Tobias Myers tonight, going the last 4 innings after Quinn Priester left in the 5th inning, and Nick Mears again inheriting a fire and helping the Brewers get out of it there in the 6th. But Tobias Myers tonight, man, I'd be remiss if we didn't mention the job that he did out of the bullpen this evening. And it's been a weird season for Tobias, right? Like, coming in, you thought he'd be a starter. He started the playoffs for a playoff game for them last year, was a big part of the success the team had a year ago. Is a starter this year. He's found himself in the minors, coming out of the bullpen, getting some spot starts. It's been an up and down, kind of a roller coaster season for Tobias Myers, but I think he's settling in to that reliever role out of the bullpen, and tonight was just fantastic. So a lot of credit obviously goes to Jackson Chourio for achieving another 2020 season, the youngest player, as we mentioned, to do so. But I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tobias Myers. I thought he was fantastic, and it's good to see. It's hard not to cheer for a guy like Tobias Myers, who has done everything that this team has needed him to do. And hopefully, the Brewers don't need long relief out of the bullpen, and there's going to be moments, hopefully, in the that they can get into the postseason and not need that. But with the last 2 games in the regular season, it's really cool to see these guys come in and kind of start to begin carving roles for themselves as we near the postseason. The Brewers do lose 3-1. Coming up after this, your thoughts, your reactions, and the things you'll be talking about tomorrow in the 3-1 loss. A 3-1 loss for our Milwaukee Brewers. That drops them to 96-64 now on the season, 51-28 at American Family Field. Really, when we look at Brewers wins and losses, we always look at runners in scoring position. What did they do? How many guys did they leave on base? It just wasn't a very busy game for the Brewers on the base pass, right? Jackson Chourio, as we mentioned, with a stolen base in this one. Just 5 guys left on base tonight for the Brewers. 1 for 4 with runners in scoring position. And I already know that with the loss tonight and a couple of losses before, coming into American Family Field, coming into the last home season series at American Family Field in the regular season, that there's going to be some concern. So let's dive into it. These are the things you'll be talking about tomorrow after a 3-1 loss.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I know there's some concerns with this Brewers team, quote unquote, backing into the postseason. And I think there's some validity to it. I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. I think it's something to keep an eye on. The Brewers now obviously losing game 1 to the Cincinnati Reds this evening, 3-1. We covered that. They have 2 more. They lost 2 out of 3 to the St. Louis Cardinals on the road, where they clinched the division as well. Then they lost 2 out of 3 to the San Diego Padres on the road. And I will mention, outside of the Cardinals, the Reds have so much more to play for. I mean, they're playing for everything right now. The Cincinnati Reds are now in control of their own destiny after a Mets loss this evening. The Padres were in the same boat. They were trying to clinch a spot. They're mathematically at that time, we're still in the National League West. I think that ship has sailed. I haven't looked at it as of recent, but they had to. They've played some teams that have a lot more to play for, and I'm not giving the Brewers a pass. I'm not giving the offense a pass. It's definitely a concern. It's definitely something I would keep an eye on, especially when you only muster up 3 hits. But the Cincinnati Reds, albeit losing 2 out of 3 to the Pirates as of recently, have a lot to play for, and the Brewers don't. And that's just human nature, in my opinion, for a team to kind of let their foot off the gas. Now, should it be? Probably not. I don't think Pat Murphy's going to sit up there and tell you that's exactly what they're doing. But there is some concern. There is some worry. And I know a lot of people have said, I would love to be playing hot baseball. And I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I think we'd all love to see the Brewers playing really hot, good baseball. But it's also to keep in mind that this team will also face a week off at the end of the regular season. So they won't pick things back up until a week or so after they finish the season on actually, I think it is just under a week, 6 days, because they'll pick it up that following Saturday. So there's going to be some break time anyway for this team. So if they were playing really hot baseball, there would still be a break in action for this Brewers team, 6 days to be exact. So I would not be overly concerned. I understand the frustration. I understand the worry. And it's not like this team has given us reason to think otherwise, because they've fallen short in October when the expectations were up there. So I think that your feelings, if you're waking up and you're feeling a little frustrated, a little worried, I think that's valid. But this team's been different this year. It's been different. It's felt different. It's certainly been different. I mean, 8-game win streak, 11-game win streak, a 14-game win streak. I mean, they've proven us all wrong. Injuries, weird schedules. I mean, they've done everything that they've been able to do with their backs up against the wall. When people said they couldn't do it, they've done it. And that, is it maybe a little homer bias? Got the blinders on, sure. But that's what this team's done, is prove us wrong all year long. You start the season 0-4 and you get embarrassed, to open things up at American Family Field, and the torpedo bats are the talk of the town to begin the season. And Freddie Peralta is at one point your only healthy pitching. Nobody wanted Quinn Priester, it seemed like. Andrew Vaughn was a throwaway trade for the White Sox. And where would this team be without Andrew Vaughn? Where would this team be without Quinn Priester? Like, they continue to find ways to get the job done. I'm not going to doubt them. I'm certainly not thrilled with a 3-1 loss. I'm not thrilled losing a couple of series now, and hopefully they can right the wrongs before the regular season ends and get off to a strong start into the postseason and secure that #1 overall seed. But again, I would just remind you all that every time we've doubted this team, they have proved us wrong. Rich, over on YouTube, your thoughts, your reactions, all welcomed on the program. Asking any concern if the Reds sweep. There would be more concern than I have right now. There would be more concern if the Reds do sweep. Preston, over on YouTube, if the Reds sweep the Brewers, the only thing that will happen is the Mets are booted out of the playoffs. As far as standings go, yes. Right now, the Mets control their own destiny, right? If the Reds can continue to win and the Mets just continue to fall apart, despite having all the money in the world, the Mets continue to fall apart. I do think that that there would be a little bit more concern than I have right now if the Reds do sweep. Ryan, you think you would play better with nothing to play for, but the pressure is ratcheting up. They have shown zero fire. I won't disagree. I understand. It does feel like the foot has been, proverbial foot has been let off the gas a little bit. I still believe in this team. I still believe in manager Pat Murphy. Again, they have not given me a reason to doubt that this year, right? Like, every time I start to doubt them a little bit, every time I say they can't do something, every time I say, well, that's probably it, they just find a way. They continue to find a way. So again, I tend to lean towards being, optimistic about this team, certainly for the reasons that I've laid out already. Craig, over on YouTube, are we going to have a full healthy bullpen for the playoffs? The Brewers getting some good news, believe it or not. It's been a while since we've had some good news for the Brewers bullpen. This is per Kurt Hogue for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Yes, the Brewers did lose this evening, but Jose Quintana threw 45 pitches in a simulation game. Pat Murphy chalking it up as, quote, fantastic. So that's good news for Jose Quintana, who could possibly get the start or come out of the bullpen. Trevor McGill completed his sim inning this afternoon. He's likely to pitch on Sunday, so that's really good news. DL Hall will be activated this weekend and pitch as well. That is even better news. To be able to, Aaron Ashby has been a lifesaver out of that bullpen. To get DL Hall back in there as well would be huge. And I mentioned it, Robert Gasser likely to start tomorrow with Jacob Mizorowski coming in for relief. So the Brewers still getting some good news, certainly with that bullpen. I mean, going into the postseason, that's huge news. Everydayer Jason, hits are the biggest problem at the moment. Still everything to play for. The number 1 seed has to be a must. And I don't think that anybody in that clubhouse, Jason, to your point, would disagree with anything you're saying. I completely agree. But I will also say that I think the biggest achievement that this Brewers team did this year, obviously, was when you could make the argument for the National League Central Division, but that also helped them secure the first round bye. Staying out of that wild card round was huge, right? Like this Brewers team, yes, you want to be the number 1 overall seed and host the National League Championship Series, but this team has proven they can go in on the road and win big ball games already this year. But certainly, I do think that this team is not letting their foot off the gas. It's human nature to kind of have that, have those moments. But I know Pat Murphy's probably in there, spreading the message around and getting it into these guys' head that they're still, everybody's doubting us. Nobody's giving us a chance. Their win-loss over-under, I believe, at the beginning of the year from Potawatomi here in Milwaukee, and FanDuel was like 80.5, 82.5, something around those lines. So nobody gave him a chance, and Pat Murphy's going to keep reminding him of that. Jacob, over on YouTube, the crew simply chose not to show up today. I've seen a lot of sleepwalking from the team lately. Tough to figure out what's going on with the offense as of late. It has been frustrating, I should say. Even in San Diego, you go in extras, you get blown out in game 2, you squeak by in game 3, and it certainly has been frustrating as of late. Let's go through it real quick. So they lost today 3-1. They won 3-1. Then they lost 7-0. They scored 4 runs in a loss. They scored 1 run in a loss. They scored 3 runs in a win, 1 run in a loss. It just overall just hasn't been good for this team offensively. And it's one of those things where it's part of baseball. Like, you hear Pat Murphy talk about it. Sometimes the ball is going to bounce your way. Sometimes it's not going to. It feels like it's just one of those days where I shouldn't say days, but it's one of those moments in a season where you're kind of just going through a little bit of a rut offensively. And I'm hoping, going forward, obviously into the postseason, that changes things, certainly in front of the home crowd at American Family Field. Everydayer Cody, this is starting to remind me of early in the year when the pitching was doing everything it could, but the hitting was silent. Yeah, that's a great point. It's hard to argue. Certainly, it's hard to argue that. And it's not like the Brewers are missing a big bat in their lineup, right? Christian Yelich is playing. Andrew Vaughn's in there. Bryce Terrain, Sal Frelick, Jackson Chourio, as we mentioned, with the securing 2020 second consecutive season. So their excuses aren't there, offensively speaking, for the Brewers. But I think they're going to have, you just need one of those games where, everything kind of falls, right? And you're able to find holes in the defense, and you're able to play a handful of runs, and you just need one of those games to get going. And hopefully that is tomorrow, as the Brewers will take on the Cincinnati Reds in game 2, and we will discuss it. Robert Gasser, Jacob Mizorowski. So a fun one for nothing else. A little bit of stress, not clinching that number 1 overall seed yet, but Robert Gasser and Jacob Mizorowski will catch some eyes on that ball game. We'll be here to break it down after the last out. As always, thank you guys for making Locked On Brewers part of your day. Thank you for always tuning in. Thank you for making us part of your each and every day. Reminder, you can find us on on YouTube, as well as wherever you get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get audio podcasts, you can get the Locked On Brewers postcast. And as I mentioned before, go to YouTube, type in that search bar, Locked On Brewers, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button for me, hit that notification bell, get notified when we go live, and we will go live following the last out tomorrow in game 2 of the Brewers and the Reds. Tough one tonight, but as always, all season long, it's been win, lose, or draw. It is always go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone. Talk to you tomorrow. See you.